Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, May 15th, 2026, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today will be 77.4 degrees, and the low will be 57.4 degrees. It should be a mild and pleasant day for you to enjoy. In today's episode, we are investigating why California is choosing to cut hundreds of bills, despite the state enjoying a record financial surplus fueled by the artificial intelligence sector. We will analyze the reasoning behind these legislative decisions and what they mean for the future of the state's budget. Additionally, we have several other important stories to share with you, including updates on the latest global news. We have a busy show ahead, so stay tuned for all that and more here on Alex's News. Good morning, everyone. California is sitting on a massive revenue windfall from artificial intelligence, but lawmakers in Sacramento just gutted hundreds of bills, blaming Washington. It's a strange contradiction, and here to break it down is our reporter Chloe. Chloe, welcome.
Thanks, Grace. It really is a head-spinning moment in Sacramento. Just yesterday, on May 14th, Democratic leaders in the state Senate and Assembly effectively gutted hundreds of pending bills. They're calling it a fiscal crisis, and they're pointing the finger squarely at the Trump administration and the Republican-controlled Congress. But at the same time, the state is reporting a record-breaking surplus from the AI sector.
So how big was this bill kill spree we keep hearing about?
It was enormous, Grace. According to Cal Matters and the Los Angeles Times, the Senate and Assembly Appropriations Committees held their biannual suspense file hearings at the Capitol Annex Swing Space in Sacramento. They quietly shelved about 25% of all pending legislation. In a rapid-fire sequence, lawmakers killed 90 of 332 bills in the Senate and 169 of 637 in the Assembly. Most of the casualties were new spending programs that didn't have their own dedicated funding source.
And the leaders are framing this as a defensive move against federal policy. Walk us through that.
Right. Governor Gavin Newsom, along with Senate President Pro Tem Monique Limon and Assembly Appropriations Chair Buffy Wicks, are saying these cuts are necessary because of hostile federal policies. SF Gate and ABC 10 report the administration is bracing for the fallout from H.R. 1, also known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. President Trump signed that into law back in July of 2025, about 10 months ago. State officials warn it could strip health insurance from 2 million low-income Californians.
That's a staggering number. What does that mean for the state's healthcare budget specifically?
It's potentially catastrophic, Grace. According to NPR and Cal Matters, the state is projecting a $1 trillion reduction in federal Medicaid or Medi-Cal funding over the next decade. The immediate hits include a $1.1 billion federal freeze on in-home supportive services known as IHSS, and the implementation of 80-hour monthly work requirements for Medi-Cal recipients. And during his budget presentation, Newsom reportedly displayed a meme of President Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent styled after the movie Dumb and Dumber to mock federal fiscal decisions.
That's a striking visual from a sitting governor. But here's what I don't understand. If there's a surplus, why all the cuts?
That's the paradox at the heart of this story. The governor's May revision confirmed a $16.5 billion revenue surplus. That windfall is fueled by an AI boom, with spiking capital gains from companies like NVIDIA, OpenAI, and Google. Progressive advocates are accusing state leaders of hoarding cash while killing programs that could help vulnerable Californians right now.
So where is that surplus money actually going?
According to SF Gate, Newsom is directing nearly $10 billion into reserves and what's called a surplus holding account, rather than using it to backfill the federal cuts. The Legislative Analyst's Office, or LAO, has warned that California is in, quote, bubble territory, end quote, and that an AI bust is inevitable. So there's a real fear that this windfall could vanish quickly. But critics argue this also lets Newsom bolster his fiscal conservative credentials ahead of a potential 2028 presidential run, using the federal administration as a convenient scapegoat.
Let's talk specifics. What kinds of bills got axed in this suspense file hearing?
The list is significant. The Appropriations Committees, chaired by Sabrina Cervantes in the Senate and Buffy Wicks in the Assembly, killed measures that would have provided property tax breaks to low and moderate income households. They also killed tax credits for homeowners hardening their homes against wildfires. On the energy side, Senator Scott Wiener's bill, SB 1097, which would have exempted renewable energy projects from the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, was shelved, and a proposal to create special utility rates for water and power-hungry data centers was also axed.
What about bills targeting big corporations? I imagine those were on the table too.
They were, and they took hits as well. AB 2729, which would have charged mega corporations like Amazon or Walmart for employees relying on Medi-Cal, was halted. And Assembly Bill 1790, which sought to repeal the Water's Edge tax break that allows multinational companies to avoid taxes on foreign income, was pulled from the agenda. As CalMatters reported, Chair Buffy Wicks said that proposal, which could raise up to $4 billion annually, will instead be discussed during high-stakes budget negotiations involving the Big Three leaders.
Now I understand labor unions are trying a different approach with a ballot initiative. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is fascinating. Labor unions led by SEIU-UHW are pushing the 2026 Billionaire Tax Act, officially Initiative Number 25-0024. According to Ground News and the Los Angeles Times, proponents submitted 1.6 million signatures on April 27, just over 2 weeks ago. The measure would levy a one-time 5% excise tax on the worldwide net worth of residents with assets exceeding $1 billion. The goal is to raise $20 billion annually to stabilize Medi-Cal and prevent hospital closures.
And who's lining up for and against it?
It's a high-profile battle. Senator Bernie Sanders is among the supporters, but it faces fierce opposition from Governor Newsom himself, and from tech titans like Sergey Brin, who have reportedly funded counter-initiatives to prohibit new asset taxes. So you have this remarkable split, where the Democratic governor is opposing a tax push from his own party's labor base.
Let's get back to the social safety net. You mentioned cuts to existing programs. What's happening there?
Despite the AI surplus, the state is moving forward with significant reductions. For Medi-Cal coverage of undocumented immigrants, the state raised monthly premiums from $30 to $50 and reinstated asset tests for seniors and disabled adults. That's a reversal of progress made in recent years. And roughly 1.3 million unauthorized immigrants were moved to a fee-for-service program to avoid losing federal matching funds. Advocates told CalMatters this will severely limit access to medically tailored meals and case management.
So it wasn't all bad news, though, right? Some bills did survive.
That's right, Grace. According to Palo Alto Online and Housing CA, several measures survived the May 14th hearing and are moving on to floor votes. SB 866 would streamline emergency shelters. SB 868, called the Plug-and-Play Solar Act, would streamline balcony solar for renters. SB 1164, the California Voting Rights Act of 2026, would codify federal voting protections into state law. And AB 1603 is a phased ban on PFAS, forever chemicals in pesticides.
That's a varied list. What's the deadline lawmakers are racing toward now?
The constitutional deadline for the state budget is June 15th, exactly 1 month from today. So the tension between California's tech-driven wealth and the austerity measures driven by federal friction is going to dominate Sacramento for the next several weeks. The Big Three leaders, Newsom, Limon, and the Assembly Speaker, will be negotiating intensely. Watch especially for whether Assembly Bill 1790, that multinational tax repeal, gets revived during those talks.
And the big picture here, Chloe. What should listeners take away?
I think the takeaway is that California is making a bet, Grace. State leaders are betting that the AI boom is temporary and that federal cuts will be severe and lasting, so they're stockpiling cash and shelving progressive priorities to brace for impact. Whether that's prudent fiscal management or political positioning depends on who you ask. But for Californians counting on those killed programs, the wait just got a lot longer.
Chloe, thank you so much for walking us through such a complicated story.
My pleasure, Grace.
That was our reporter Chloe with the latest from Sacramento. We'll be right back. Here are some other headlines. The High Court has delivered a legal prescription for certainty. That is quite a pill to swallow for some. In a one-paragraph unsigned order issued on May 14, the Supreme Court indefinitely extended a stay on lower court restrictions, ensuring that nationwide access to the abortion drug mifepristone remains available through the mail and telehealth. This move effectively blocks a Fifth Circuit order that attempted to deliver a blow to remote prescribing by requiring in-person doctor visits and halting shipments to pharmacies. Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas were the dissenting voices, with Thomas writing that the mailing of such drugs constitutes a criminal enterprise under the 1873 Comstock Act. This ruling provides a dose of stability for the 65% of patients who chose medication abortion in 2023, particularly those relying on shield laws in 13 states with total bans. As the litigation in state of Louisiana versus FDA returns to the lower courts, it sets the stage for a bitter pill of a political battle over the Comstock Act in the 2026 midterms. All this occurs while the Food and Drug Administration faces a leadership vacuum following the resignation of Commissioner Marty McCary, leaving Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche to monitor the evolving legal landscape. In global news, a massive prisoner swap has proven that there is still some room for trade-ins during conflict. 205 prisoners of war from each side were exchanged in the opening phase of a 1,000 for 1,000 person agreement. Brokered by President Trump and mediated by the United Arab Emirates, the deal allowed Ukrainian service members from the Navy, National Guard, and Border Guard to finally find their way home. Many had been held captive since the defense of Mariupol in 2022. Russian personnel were transferred to Belarus for medical and psychological evaluations before their final return. This breakthrough follows a 3-day ceasefire from May 9 through 11 that managed to hold its breath through Russia's Victory Day celebrations. Ukrainian Interior Minister Ihor Klimenko expressed hope that this diplomatic bridge remains sturdy enough to lead to further de-escalation. In Beijing, the art of the deal has found a new canvas. President Trump revealed that Xi Jinping has offered to mediate a peace settlement between the United States and Iran. China has pledged not to provide military equipment to Tehran, and both leaders reached a consensus on the urgent need to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which has been experiencing a bit of a blockage since hostilities escalated in February. Secretary of State Marco Rubio remains cautious about this Eastern intervention, asserting the United States did not explicitly request the help, but the move puts pressure on Tehran to stop fueling the fire while testing the pragmatic stabilization of U.S.-China relations. In the United Kingdom, the health secretary has decided his position was no longer terminal. Wes Streeting resigned after a loss of confidence in Prime Minister Keir Starmer following sickly local election losses on May 7. Streeting called the current leadership a vacuum of vision, and now James Murray, the Member of Parliament for Ealing North and former Chief Secretary to the Treasury, has been appointed to nurse the National Health Service Modernization Bill through Parliament. Murray must now navigate a feverish environment involving primary care funding and the implementation of a controversial single-patient record system. Finally, in California, a former top aide is facing a sentence that is anything but golden. Dana Williamson pleaded guilty to 3 felonies for siphoning $225,000 from Xavier Becerra's dormant campaign account. The scheme involved a no-show job for the wife of Sean McCluskey, a former official at Health and Human Services. While Becerra is the frontrunner for governor, this fraud case is a headache for his campaign. Williamson also admitted to lying to the FBI about her efforts to influence Activision litigation, though her lawyer, McGregor Scott, is hoping her recent liver transplant provides some leniency during her July sentencing. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Opus 4.6, Gemini Pro 3.1, Gemini Flash 3, and Google Cloud text-to-speech. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.